Thanks for joining us for another Thursday night Unplugged Live. I've got with me one of my co hosts, Eric, tonight. Rodney's not able to join us, but Eric and I will be here hanging out with you guys tonight, talking a little bit about hidden budget killers. Uh, Kind of stemming off of some of the conversation that we had last week with, what was the name? Eric
Bo Brotherton.
Bo Brotherton, looking at developing a system for his homestead. And that was very different than what we're used to doing, but kind of spurred some ideas. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Eric, how's it going? How come it's so dark over there?
Well, I don't have my traditional lights behind me because I started tearing my system apart and my
Woohoo!
6000s are gone. See if I can actually, oh man, as soon as you move the mouse to hover over the little thing that allows you to push the button to make it go full screen.
There you go.
Oh, there it is. Oh gosh, and then I got to it. There we go.
And then I clicked it.
Um, so 12,000, and it's still a mess. So I've paid for grid power all day long, and I'm ready to have it back up because it just kills me to think that I'm just throwing money at the electric company, especially at 24 cents a kilowatt hour, I think it is.
Ouch.
Yeah, so luckily the family wasn't home today, so they didn't spend too much or use too much energy. But and if you hear that thing, sorry, cat, it's in here because it's ridiculously hot outside, and I'm probably gonna stick it in the other part of the barn.
Yep. You hear it every once in a while, but
Yeah.
well, it'll probably get drowned out. I think you mentioned it before the live stream started, but it's I guess comment below. Do you think it's better than the frog that we used to hear?
Yeah, two driver frogs now.
Yeah. I said, wow, for 24 cents a kilowatt hour, but come to think of it, that's probably close to what Michigan is at right now after the most recent price hike.
Oh,
Um,
really?
so yeah, that's not something I want to look forward to seeing. So stay on solar as much as possible. But
Yes.
yeah, Joe says frog and cat both at once. Let's go.
Let's go.
Who can drown out the other?
Yes.
Well, speaking of cats, I'm sitting here at my makeshift desk and I hit the go live button to get started tonight. And one of my wife's cats walks in here, starts making some noises. And I know as soon as she walks in here, she starts rubbing up against the tripod that the camera's on. And so I'm watching the camera bounce as the stream is getting started. And I'm trying to kick the cat, get out of here so that it stops moving.
Oh yeah.
Anyways. Well, good to see that you've you've had those things in boxes for what? A
Guys,
month?
it's ridiculous. Okay. I I cannot, man, I can't. Actually, I don't know if I'm coining this term, but ADHDI wire is going to be my new thing. So
Hash
that's right. Um, I've gone through and started building out all of the porch build. I think I've got 18 episodes right now, and
okay.
just watching and just like, oh my gosh, Eric, like this is incredible. Anyway, yes, one of the 12,000s, the V1, I'd actually purchased as a 12,000 or a 12K PV. I purchased that to do a video on it, and then it just sat, and I never got around to it. And then I asked him at Signature if I could swap that out for the 12,000 XP. So they graciously let me return it unopened, and then basically got one of these, and then it sat forever. And then eventually I got a second one, and then finally got them both on the wall. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I think I'm going to be a lot happier with these two versus the three of the sixes. I think it'll just be quieter. And then it gives me a little bit more headroom because there are times where we max it out and I'll hear it click. then I'm back on grid because
Mhm.
it couldn't quite handle the loads. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
you'll get that little bit of extra buffer having the two going.
yeah.
Um, I have never messed with the 12,000 XPs. I've only ever seen them in different videos. So I would imagine since you haven't really used them before, the interface on the screen is drastically different from the 6,000 XP, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's still an ugly screen, but it is different. And I've used it a little bit, but not enough to really know my way around it. I've gone in and basically told it to go lead acid,
Okay.
just open loop and just so I could connect to some other batteries in a couple situations. I've actually installed it twice, just not here. And so
Okay.
now I've got to go through and figure out how to pair up or sync up the two. I know there's something that needs to be done to parallel the V1 and the V2. I think maybe Joe or one of those guys did a video on that, so need to go back and watch that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what Rodney's only got one. Maybe Gavin has two of them. I think he might have a V1 and a V2. Um, but
Hmm.
anyways, we
Yeah,
could talk
yeah, that's
all
right.
night just on converting from 6,000 XP to 12,000 XP. But
Hmm.
that's not what the topic's going to be about tonight. But before we get into the topic, um, you've already seen some folks dropping some comments into the chat with star 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 at the beginning. So that is kind of like our solar roll call, which Eric has designed an interface that will pull that information and calculates out totals of production for the day from everybody that enters their information in the chat. And so we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But if you're seeing that in the chat and you have solar production for the day, go ahead and add star, star, star your kilowatt production. And then a general location. Most people just put the state. I don't know. Does the international stuff work for that, Eric?
I don't remember if it's working in this version. I have implemented it, but I don't remember if I've got that approved
Okay.
yet.
So at some point when we get the upgraded version approved, then we'll be able to see some of that and get retro Z machines, pulled in and that kind of stuff from Australia. But so as I mentioned at the beginning, we went through last week talking to Bo, and he was trying to figure out what system to install because he has all these panels that are doing nothing. And he's using power stations to use the panels a little bit, but he was trying to figure out a system to install. And that got me thinking back to my first big home system that I installed and the whole process that I went through and some lessons learned, which kind of brings into the topic tonight, hidden budget killers in your DIY solar project. So, as we go through some of these, some might not apply. Some are going to be generalizations just for DIYers in general. But I'd be curious to know when you guys went through and did some of your own systems and installs, did you get bit by any of these hidden budget killers? So, when you go through and you're looking to build out a system, typically you always think of the big three components, right? You've got your solar panels, you've got your inverters, and your battery banks. And you're looking for what solar panels can get used for what inverter do I need to power the loads in my house, and then how much battery storage do I need to either run a day, run multiple days, run if the sun doesn't shine. You're always focusing on those three things. But then there's all these extra little things that tend to come up once you've made your big 3 purchases. And so we're going to look at what some of those different things might end up being. So the first one is the first thing that comes to my mind is extra wires and extra cables. You don't take into account the AC wiring. You don't take into account the extra battery cables. You know, you need that. If you need that 4-aught, that 4-aught's not cheap. And then when you're looking at mounting solar panels, well, where are they going? How far away from the house? And how many strings are you running? Because then you have to look at distance, voltage drop, all these extra things, conduit, if you've got to run it underground. And I'm going to, as we go through a lot of these, almost every single one of these, I didn't think about at all when I was doing my first system. Eric, when you installed your first one, did you think about or budget into your budget about any wiring at all?
You know, I was super naive at the time, and I think I threw in an extra $1,000 budget just to, you know, go, this will
Just
be
in
odds
case.
and ends and whatever. And oh my gosh, wow, a huge eye opener. And especially when you know, we talk a lot about doing it in stages if you have to and building as you go. But when you do that, there's so much waste. You know, there's
a lot of potential waste, yeah.
you know, even just as now, this isn't something most people will do, but I just ripped out 200 feet, you know, of number 6 copper. That's now all in 4 to 10 foot pieces, because that's just, you know, the 16 different runs back and forth between each inverter and the panels or whatever it was. I'm just sitting there looking at, I've got a basket over here just full of trash. You know, I mean, like I sure I can hold on to some of that for later, but oh man, just unexpected stuff like that. Or you realize, oh, I need to move it just over there. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at some of these comments. Joe said, you know, he's his biggest killer for budget. And then Doug's like, it's not waste, it's earned tuition for the experience.
It's true. And it's cheaper than hiring somebody else, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it hurts.
I mean, have you ever gone to the grocery store and you see those racks that they put the bread on the aisles? They're, you know, 2 feet wide. They've got loaves of bread in them and stuff. I actually have a bunch of spares of those. I don't know where I got them, but I have those as wire drawers on my shelf. And so I've got 2 of them stacked. One's DC wires and one's AC wires. And both of them are full and they've got little things sticking out all over the place because exactly what you said. You're moving things around, changing things around. And I mean,
yeah,
it's nice when you need a short
great,
wire.
But yeah, when it's like, okay, I've got to do 6 splices to get where I need to go. Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness for the ability to splice some things.
Sure.
But, you know, in a pinch, doing that, and then you say it's only temporary and it's temporarily permanent. But wire's so expensive.
Yeah. So can I share what I just had to do with wire? Because I had to pull out all the number 6,
Yeah.
right? And then put in number 3.
Oh, yeah.
So first off, as the ADHD wire, I started filming and I'm in the middle of it. I'm like, okay, now here we go. And I like throw the transfer switch. My whole house goes dark and then it comes back up. And then I'm sitting there looking at it. And I'm like, okay, now I need to turn off these 40 amp breakers. Okay, well, that ain't going to work. I was like, I can't do 40 amp breakers with this new system. So we're looking at 6 of them now that I don't need. Okay, well, I need 4 100 amp breakers. All right, well, that'll be easy. Let's just look at Lowe's real quick. $100 a piece. Okay. I didn't realize we were paying $1 an amp. Um, okay, Amazon, $40 a piece. Okay, that's better. But still, now I've got to wait 3 days. I'm already back on grid. So then I'm like, okay, well then I'm going, wait a second. I'm going 100 amp. I need to change my wire gauge. I hadn't even thought about any of this. I mean, sure, I thought about it 6 months ago whenever I purchased the equipment or whatever it is, right? So then I'm looking at just, okay, I'm going to go to Lowe's. I'm going to pick up, I'll bite the bullet. I'll buy the 100 amp breakers there so I can get the wire so that I can get back onto this project today. 385 a foot for number. I'm like, there's no way. Like that's what I'm pretty sure that's more than I paid for the 4-aught 12 years ago or whatever it was. But I found wireandcableyourway.com, I think is what it is. Wireandcableyourway.com. Great site, tons of awesome, not sponsored or affiliated or anything like that. But what was cool about it is, now I can get the spools in the colors. I've got another white one over there, and I already have some green THHN. But I think it was $2.40. I think it was $2.40 a foot, and I got to just pick the color that I wanted at no extra charge. But $2.59 a foot. But still, that's $674. And I bought a little bit extra just to be safe, but $675 of unexpected, purchases because I just didn't think about it. So,
Yep.
Anyway, that fits right into tonight's show that showed up yesterday.
Yeah, I know that some of the more experienced folks, even than us, will tell you if you've got a local electrical supply house by you, go there because that's probably going to be the cheapest place that you can find stuff. And if you can avoid buying it from Home Depot and Lowe's, do it. Just because, I mean, in a pinch it works, but you're going to pay for it because it's a lot more expensive from there. I've actually found it's a place maybe an hour and a half south of me, but they've got an eBay store and they will basically build whatever kind of bundles you need. So if you need, 50 feet of 6-gauge THHN in, red, white, and black with an 8-gauge ground, they will make a bundle of that specific for what you need. And the price is fairly competitive, and usually I can get it within a day. But if I have to go to Home Depot, then I will. But
yeah, and going down to like Elliott and stuff, I found they're more expensive than Lowe's.
Really?
I mean, at least the last couple times I've tried. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, budget killer number one that always comes to my mind: wires, cables. You could also throw conduit into here too, because conduit fittings, all those little things, all the little insulator bushings, that kind of stuff. A lot of those little pieces just get overlooked when you're planning out your system. Budget killer number two, which a lot of people tend to even overlook until way later, and hopefully it's not too late, but surge and circuit protection. I mean, Class T fuses, some batteries have built-in circuit breakers, some don't. Even inverters have some surge stuff built into them, but not really heavy duty surge like an actual SPD would allot for. So, I mean, all this is extra cost. I mean, those Class T fuses themselves, aren't they like $30 for the Class T fuse?
They're not cheap.
And DC circuit breakers, man, you could stay away from the cheap ones. I mean, it's great up front because your bottom line looks awesome, but you watch some of these tests that are done with these DC cheap breakers and they just don't trip. And then make sure SPD surge protection device. We've had multiple live streams talking about SPDs here in the past, so you can actually go back through the archives and see Logan from now it's Solmax something, Solmax Solutions did a great live stream on SPDs and surge protection devices, so you can go back and look at that. It's just cheap insurance. You spend thousands and thousands of dollars on inverters, batteries, and we balk at like $100 surge protection device, but we're probably balking at it because it's not in the original budget that we were planning on.
I'm going to put that that SPD episode here in the live chat.
Awesome.
I was trying to say live stream and live chat at the same time, and yeah, there it is.
Trapped. Yeah. So the tool investment is another area because there's going to be a lot of specialized tools that you can use. You might be able to get away with not getting some of these specialized tools. I mean, the hydraulic crimper is awesome if you're doing enough to warrant the hydraulic aspect. They make the manual ones, they make the hammer ones, but some reliable crimper, if you're making your own battery cables, you can go to some of these places. Windy Nation on Amazon, Current Connected sells pre-made battery cables. You can get the pre-made ones to the length that you need, but you're probably going to pay a little bit more for somebody else making it for you. Same with the MC4 connections for PV lines. You can get them to whatever length you want. You can pre-buy them that way, so you don't have to buy the tool. But look at the cost. Are you spending more in pre-made cable versus just buying the tool and then doing the
learning
cable lines yourselves?
Yeah.
And it's a skill that you learn.
Did y'all see, not to get off subject, but I'm sure most of you guys have seen Will's his video on basically crimpers and all that stuff. And surprisingly, it seems like cleaning the lug is probably the greatest factor. At least that was my takeaway. I skimmed through the video, but it seems like cleaning the lug was one of the greatest factors in actually getting low resistance. Because I mean, he got great results even just smashing one with a hammer, right? But cleaned it, and it turned out, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it was interesting to see.
Yeah, no,
I've never considered cleaning them.
It's not something you would think about because you're like, well, you're cleaning the sheathing and the protected end off already, so it should be clean underneath, right? But you get the oils or whatever, either inside the lug itself or on the strands of wires that just end up creating a little more resistance. A multimeter, I mean, if you're going to be putting in your own system, you probably want to invest in a decent multimeter. And I would recommend one that can do AC and DC amps. A lot of the ones that you can find in the store, the cheaper ones, they can do AC amps, no problem, but you can't read DC amps off of them. So, I mean, when I got everything, I'm like, multimeter. I already got one of those. A little Sears thing, you know, it works fine. And you touch the two wires and it's like, oh yeah, I've got voltage. But then I couldn't test any current from DC. Like, oh man, there's another $100 I got to go out and spend and buy another tool.
But go just a few bucks more if you're going to buy it and get one with the clamp, you know, the DC clamp.
Oh yeah.
AC clamp makes it good as, I mean, like, can you do AC clamp? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But make sure you get a DC clamp meter. Um, I mean, I had to use this one today because actually I never go on a trip without a multimeter anymore. Cross country, that is. I've had to swap 2 alternators on the side of the interstate and not the same trip, and a radiator and a couple of, we end up doing all our car maintenance when we go on trips, um, for whatever reason. But it's a lot easier to diagnose what's going on with your vehicle if you got a multimeter. Anyway, I left mine in my wife's car, which is why I had to use this one. But having 2 is always a good idea because I had a third one that I was using, and I'm sitting there reading what should have been 240 volts, and it was saying like 370. And I'm like, what's going on? So then I quickly got this one and checked against it, and I'm like, okay, my multimeter's dead. And apparently they die. So there you go.
See, John says, having the right tools is so important. It's very satisfying doing it yourself and to not waste wire by measuring the right size. What do you think? I mean, from my idea is you're DIY-ing it. So why only DIY parts of it? Do it all, learn it all, learn as much as you can, and then yeah, you can have that satisfaction of knowing that you've done it, and you've have to learn how this stuff works too. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I used to kind of pride myself in having never once hired anybody to do anything. But I also have a lot of unfinished jobs, you know. Um, I think if my financial situation was different, I would probably hire more people. But I still, there's still certain things that I just want to do myself. Um, I don't, I don't know. Even like we bought a mattress, and I'm going, I don't want someone else to come bring my mattress into my house. Like, I can do that myself. Why would I pay extra for that? That's ridiculous. You know, that kind of thing. Or washing machine or whatever it is. I don't know. There's a time and a place to have someone else do something, especially if you're just never going to get it done and it needs to get done. But I'm all about learning skills and doing it a little cheaper and kind of having fun doing it.
Yeah. Time is money too. So, I mean, what's more expensive to you? You have to look at it from that standpoint. Because I, like you, it's the same thing. You know, I've very rarely have somebody come do a service task or service job at my house. I want to learn how to do it and do it myself. But sometimes, especially when you watch them do it in like an hour, and you're like, man, that would have taken me 3 days. Okay.
Yep.
So the last tool that I had on my list, again, it's not an exhaustive list, but it's a torque wrench, because you got to go through and every connection, torque it down. And that's not just the battery connections, that's the connections inside the inverter. They all have torque specs. Even the connections that you're making inside your breaker panels, they all have torque specs. And that's something that even I never knew that a circuit breaker had a torque spec on it. It was always put the wire. I mean, I could mess with the panel, no problem. But you put the wire in, you turn it until it don't turn no more, and then you're done. And then I learned, no, you read the side, and there's a torque spec in there. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, that took me. Like, I did not know that for the longest time. I knew there was a little deal that tells you how much to strip off.
Yeah.
Right there on the side, it's got a whole section, tells you for each different wire gauge size, and it tells you in inch pounds, which is nice instead of telling you in Newton meters, so you have to figure it out.
So, you know, you've got the big three, you've got your panels, your inverter, and your batteries, but you got to have some place for those panels to go. I mean, yes, you can lean them up against your fence. You can throw them on the ground and let the goats poop on them.
You can do all those things, and then you throw panels away.
But then Was it you, Eric, that said that you had ants building nests
I
up
did,
underneath the
shorted them out.
panels?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the goats weren't that big of a deal. The poop just rolls off of it, and the goats couldn't really damage the panels. It was a stinking fire ants. Building the nest up around the MC4 connectors, and then that was really the part that got it was the MC connectors. Um, they built their nest over the top of it. I guess it was a nice warm spot or something, and then it shorted out and burned up the panels, everything around it.
So, yeah, you've got to have some way to mount your panels, whether that's on your roof or on the ground. And whether you're doing a roof mount or a ground mount, you're going to have different considerations that have to be made. You're going to have conduit runs either way, wire runs, but mounting things on your roof, trying to prevent leaks, versus running trenches out to solar panel arrays and putting concrete in the ground, or if you're got some of those newer fancy mounts that you just bang an I-beam right into the ground instead of pre-drilling anything. I mean, or you can do like the Integra rack mount and do what Eric did. Build what is that thing that you put the
Timber
Integra rack on?
frame skid or pallet, basically a big pallet made out of huge 8x8 timbers.
And make sure it's not going to go anywhere unless you pick it up with a tractor.
Yeah, it's its own ballast, and fits a forklift on the tractor just right. Move it wherever I want it.
Yeah. This is, again, not something that everybody's going to be dealing with, but if you're in some of these areas and you're big into making sure that you've got the permitting done and everything, government's not going to give you a piece of paper to do something for free. They're going to charge you for it, and they're going to get whatever money out of you they can. And so they're going to charge you with the diagram permit, the electrical permit. You might have the utility permit. I don't know, all this stuff. Any way they can get more money out of you. And I intentionally did this one when Rodney wasn't here, so we couldn't, trigger it. We'd be here forever. But again, some people have to deal with these permitting costs. One that I never really took into account was the cost, the battery cost to run the inverter. A lot of people, it's termed idle consumption, idle draw. A lot of inverters nowadays, you're looking anywhere from 50 watts to, I've seen some that are 130 watts just for the inverter to run, even if you don't have any load on your house. That's an extra cost that you have to take into account with your battery calculations. What is it going to take just to keep the inverter running? Because it becomes kind of like a phantom load, because you're going to use that power regardless. But I mean, when I slapped up my first, was it the EG4 6500 EXs, I never knew anything about idle consumption, the cost. I mean, you're like, oh, it's going to make power from the batteries, but it also has to make power to make the fan spin and make power to make power, or use power to make power, and all that kind of stuff. So take that into account, because that's going to change how much battery you need to buy. For some folks, it might end up being a whole nother server rack battery, which could be anywhere from, I guess you could get a cheap server rack battery now for $600, depending on, they're really coming down. 600 up to, I don't know, $2,000 probably for a 5 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they have any that are that high anymore.
I hope not.
There's 1600, no reason for kind of a good average for the upper end ones.
So I just threw together kind of a ballpark chart of different hidden costs from a dollar perspective. They've got ranges just to kind of give you an idea of what you might end up be forgetting when you're planning this system out. And I saw this comment from Mark, and it really kind of solidifies everything. You have to determine or lay out your entire product to see what's needed. It's more than just those three components.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last slide. So I've seen this in other places, but the recommendation is kind of apply 30% on top of what you think it's going to cost for your big three components. So if you've seen some of my earlier videos, which if you haven't, you're not missing out on much. But I had two EG4 6500 EX inverters, two 280 amp hour DIY batteries, and then 11 455 watt solar ever panels. And so when I looked at putting in my first system, those were the three things that I looked at. I'm like, oh, if I get those three things, I'm good. So I budgeted $10,000. And I was telling Eric this before the live stream started, but I went back through the numbers of all the extras that I had to buy after I bought the big three. And it was about $3,000 on the nose that of conduit, wires, fittings, connectors, all these little things, circuit breakers, 40, 50 bucks for a circuit breaker. For your electrical panel. I mean, it all adds up. So if you can build a full list of, like Mark said, lay out every piece and kind of sketch it out. See what you need cable-wise to run from device to device. What interconnecting devices might you need between each component? Do you got to run it in conduit? Are you using flex conduit, metal conduit, MC, whatever. Add all that stuff up. And if you can have a complete picture, it really is going to save you a lot of grief as you go to install everything, because you're not going to, hopefully not have forgotten these little things that are either holding you up in your project, or some big surprise that, oh man, I didn't even know I needed that. So
yes,
lots of little things.
Yeah. And those are the things that are so difficult for me, man. I just want to go, hey, what are we gonna do today? Oh, let's install this thing. All right, great. And just start doing it and like, okay. I try, man. I try so hard, but it doesn't always work. Yes, sketching out the entire thing. It's goals. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about circuit breaker prices, and DMI said the really good circuit breakers could be over $200 a piece for the DC ones. And I mean, I think Nader makes some good ones. I think Midnight Solar makes some good ones. I only ever use some of those super cheap ones as just a toggle switch. Not a toggle switch for under load, but just a way that I can physically disconnect the line if I need to do some work. I don't trust the surge rating on some of those things, the trip rating.
Yeah, a little sketchy. Well, hey, we've had probably over 100 people watching tonight, 80 watching currently, and 24 likes. So if you're enjoying this show and you've been sticking around, go ahead and just smash that like button real quick. And of course, if you've been here long enough, subscribe. And thanks for being here. And Adam, thanks for running the show tonight. It's fun.
So at the beginning of the live stream, we talked about having our solar roll call sunshine report. So I'm going to switch over to this screen right now and see where we're at. So production wise, looks like the average is about 43.1 kilowatt hours with 42 unique submissions.
Nice.
And it seems like it's been kind of a low day today at 1.8 megawatts of megawatt hours of production. And the current
I've seen a lot of
meter-
people in the chat saying it's a terrible day for solar. I got 1.7 kilowatt hours today, which was mainly because no one was home to use any water, and so the well pump never ran. So the batteries were full all day.
That's a good
and
excuse, though.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I'll tell myself. We would have got a lot more because it was a fairly sunny, cloudy, but it was a sunny day. We would have had a lot more.
Yeah. Current peak leader, 134 kilowatt hours of production. So we're kind of far cry away from our 200 and change. I mean, I guess we are getting later into the season. Top locations: 3 in Michigan, 2 in Wisconsin, and 2 in Arizona.
All right.
I don't know what the top locations is based off of, though.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if that's actually just the actual kilowatt hour, top, or just submissions from the location. I can't remember what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I happen to see this comment from John. I'm currently in the design phase with Signature Solar, so perfect timing for this episode.
Nice.
Well, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, John, what are you looking at? What are your big three? Just curious. Yeah.
Did you see the solar panel sale that Signature Solar was doing? Like it was at the end of last week, $50.
50. Yeah.
For a panel. Was it, I don't remember what the size of the panel was.
I didn't look at it,
400
but I was
or
like,
something?
no matter what it was, I mean, if it's a modern panel, 50
$385.
Dang, you can't. $385. Dang, that's a killer deal. Man.
And
yeah, the running one right now I think is $80.
Yeah. Not quite as good as the other one, and it's only for the pallet. I think the other one was individual
by the
or
pallet. Yeah.
But yeah, $57 for a 385 watt panel. That wasn't bad. And that stuff was gone super fast. So I'm gonna go jump back into some of the questions that came in. While we were going through the little slideshow, I did try and look at some of the questions that were related to the slides that we were looking at, but there's a handful of other questions that came in, not really related directly to the topic, but hey, we're open to whatever questions might come in. So if you've got a question, add QQQ to the beginning of it. That just helps us find it faster, because some of you guys like to hold entire conversations going back and forth. And it makes it a little difficult to find some of these questions. So Doug's got a question for you, Eric. Are you wired to support a third 12,000 XP?
So not really, no. So these are 120 amp or 125, whatever that break is, panels here, my load and my grid panel. I have 200 amp service and I have a 200 amp panel in my house. But where I spliced in between here, I couldn't spring for two 200 amp panels whenever I was building out the system, because all of the other nickeling and diming to death items made that impossible. The other thing, if y'all notice, I'm going to go full screen here for a second Well, I can't because the darn thing moves out of the way.
There you
There
go.
we go. So you'll notice I had, with my 6000s, I had one on top of each of them, but you're supposed to have 19.5 inches of clearance between each of your inverters, which, I mean, that's a good amount of distance. I don't know if anybody actually does that in any of the setups I've seen, but nonetheless, I had 8 inches, which was the minimum clearance on the 6000s, I believe it was. And that definitely, whenever we go with a wider inverter, that, was like 4 inches. Like, that's not going to work at all. So I ended up scooting over all of the batteries, which actually gave me more space over here on this end, which is good because I needed that. And then just scooted the batteries closer, and then I'm leaving this space open. So I don't know that I'm ever going to need that much power. I mean, sure, maybe someday.
Famous last words.
Right. I don't know what I'll do. If I need that extra power, I'll figure something out. But I'll be ripping out all the wire and starting over and putting it in again.
Yep.
Which will be the 5th build on this property. Well, in this barn.
It's just experience.
7th build on the property. Yeah.
So John said that he's looking at a FlexBoss 21 with a grid boss, 2 wall mount batteries, and then the Aptos 440 N type panels.
All right.
So it sounds like it's going to be
Be
a good
happy
build.
with it.
I wonder, does the design team, when they go through and design stuff for you, do they take into account wiring, conduit, that kind of stuff based on where everything's getting installed? I've never worked with them before, never talked to them, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Good question.
Let's see here. All right. I am not super familiar with the FlexBoss series, so Eric, you might have to try and answer this one. To get 100 amps from the FlexBoss 21, you need 2 FlexBoss 21s, each producing 50 amps, correct?
Dude, I don't remember at all. I don't hold numbers in my head very long, so if I did know at one point, I don't know anymore. So
I mean,
no clue.
If each inverter can output a maximum of 50 amps, then yes, to get a 100 amp service, then you'd have to parallel 2 FlexBosses together. I mean,
Sure.
I don't know the numbers.
If those are the numbers that make sense, or if those are
Yeah.
the numbers that work out, then yes.
I mean,
Mike Solar Garage was saying he thinks so.
Okay. It's like what are the 12,000 XPs? What do they output?
And the VAC, Jim is saying, is volts AC.
Yeah, I think
sorry.
he's
yeah. Well, for me, when I saw VAC,
but
yeah. Because when I saw that at first, I was thinking, my brain first went VOC, and I was like, oh, I don't think that makes sense. And then I started bunny trailing off into different topics. So,
yeah, I'm assuming he meant amps, even though he put volts.
Okay.
But yeah, so what's the 12,000 XPs? What do they output? A maximum.
Dude, don't get me lying on this stuff.
What circuit breaker did you have to buy?
I put 100 on. Put 100. The smart load. I'm actually looking right here on the PDF.
Yeah. Did you have the printed manual in front of you or something? You were talking about they actually
I know.
Gave you the printed manual.
I know. They did give me the printed. Okay, here we go. AC output voltage. Okay. Output max continuous output current 62 amps. Yeah, so 62 max continuous. And then I guess it's, has a surge significantly higher than that.
Okay.
Peak power surge then it goes into watts. So 15,000 watts for 10 seconds.
For the surge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, I can't remember who it was that made the comment when I was talking about the number 3 wire. They were saying you should have done 1 gauge, and then I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I really read that wrong? It does say here in the manual minimum gauge wire is 3. So yeah, 1 probably would be better, but man, 3 will work. I'm not going to max these out anytime soon. So just with our regular, household usage. So we should be good on that.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, pay attention. We'll look every once in a while.
So NC Hydro said that he would confirm with EG4 that in writing that that going open loop on the 12,000 XP does not void your warranty. Maybe it's different than the 18K PV. And
yeah, so someone had mentioned in the chat, I saw it a little bit before that or right around that time.
Yeah.
Like, did anybody see the Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anyone see the message that EG4 is not going to honor the warranty if you are using lead acid mode? That seems super sketchy.
So what he's talking about, there was a comment in one of the Facebook groups where somebody, I think it's actually somebody that frequents the live stream, if I remember. But somebody pointed out that in the warranty document for, and I don't remember if it was an inverter, if it was a battery or what it was, it says something about open loop and potential for voiding the warranty. And I do agree that the terminology that they used is needs to be adjusted, because they did come back and say that they would not directly void your warranty if you tell them that you're using open loop, but they're basically saying that it could be a potential problem with, I guess, they think that open loop could cause problems, which I think is kind of ironic that they're constantly referring people to switch to open loop. Ultimately, I think they have to have their smart lawyer people, whatever, fix their terminology, because regardless of whatever your intent might be, the law is going to go by what's written in the policy verbatim. Right. So they got to fix that.
Right. I was looking, actually, I was typing it back in here into the chat. It was Doug Burton Exile, and he said, I said 1 AWG for 3 12,000 XPs. So I guess he's just saying, like, my coming out of my load panel to the house or whatever I would need the number 1. Okay, that makes more sense, because I was like, oh man. Yeah, I just read it wrong.
Don't freak him out like that, especially after he just ran the wire.
I haven't run it yet, still in the spools, but yeah, I don't want to pay the $30 restocking fee or 30%.
It was funny.
I'll save it.
I connected to this software to prep for the stream at like 20 to 8. And Eric's camera was already active. His back was to the camera, and he's working on something. And I don't. What did I say to you? Are you done?
You're not done with that yet?
You're not done with that yet, because he's wiring all this stuff up. And then I hear him say, "Nope, camera, stop recording." Oops.
Yeah. It's like, that's Adam. Time for the stream.
Now you got to leave that in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Ben said, are people putting EMP protection from lightning strikes?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that's one of those things. Actually, if you that previously mentioned SPD, SPD, yes, show will answer a lot of that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Um, a lot of the units talk about, but was the question EMP or lightning? I can't remember now.
Are people putting in
EMP
EMP protection from
from
lightning strikes or for lightning strikes?
for Yeah, I think that was basically, the surge protection devices, are go a long way for the EMP side of it, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think Logan had a lot of good information on that show. Do you remembering that?
Well, each SPD is going to be rated for different things. So some will be rated specifically, they'll state EMP, some will state surges up to X number of kilovolts. I mean, I know people say that they are putting SPDs on for lightning strikes, but I hesitate to think that anything's going to survive a direct lightning strike.
Sure.
With the damage that those things cause, but not an indirect lightning strike, which can introduce a surge into your system.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, like I think about my property. I have 200 feet from my meter to this panel here. And so I've got a SPD here, and I've got another SPD I need to put there by my meter. And then I've got one on the load, and then at the house. And then from the house, then I go, that's 100 feet. And then I've got 900 feet that goes all the way to the well house. And, a lightning strike anywhere along that, or even just the static buildup from an EMP or whatever it is on those lines, to be realistic, the lightning striking a tree somewhere close to those lines, I think would be the bigger threat coming back up and into my system or going both directions. So I think that's your more realistic protection from that side of things. But yeah, if lightning strikes right here behind me, it's all gone.
Yeah, find those videos where the tree explodes when it gets hit by lightning. That's what's going to happen to your inverter.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jim, for the super chat.
Oh yeah, thank you, Jim. That's something new because it actually popped up on my screen. So yes, thank you for that. We appreciate that. But like Eric said, I would recommend going back to that video where Logan, who's a whole lot more knowledgeable on that stuff, basically spends the entire hour talking about surges and surge protection devices.
Was it the SPD show or was it the grounding show? Because we did two shows that were very closely related, and I think it might have been the grounding show that we talked the most about.
The SPDs.
About the SPDs, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, about EMP specifically.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because we had a dedicated SPD show.
I know we've got more questions. I'm trying to jump through some of these.
2 minutes left.
The E10, so he's talking the Anker Solix E10 eliminates a lot of these hidden costs, but how do you monitor their batteries? In their app, they do have a way to drill down slightly, but in a lot of the stackable style systems, they're not going to give you the details that you would be able to see if you're looking at like a server rack battery. You're not going to get cell level details. I don't even think they even give you voltage in there. They just give you what the state of charge of the individual battery is, and then are there any BMS alarms, which I actually triggered one of those alarms in one of my recent tests, but that's coming up in a video shortly. But yeah, you're not going to be able to see the details that you would, because a lot of the folks that want that style system, they don't want the details. They want the simplicity and they want it to work. Yeah. Doug says that he started his house system in 2000 and he's still improving, and all the points that we mentioned are spot on.
Mm.
Let's see here. Eric, did you get affected by Bertha at all?
I don't remember what year was Bertha, or is Bertha the one?
That's the
Is
one
that
now.
one coming up right now? Okay, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's the
See, that
tropical
shows how much I was
storm or
paying
whatever.
attention.
Yeah.
I've been in a bit of a bubble.
It's
No?
called the solar shed.
You're right. No, haven't been affected at all that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sure we're affected, but the fact that I didn't realize it was happening. I mean, I did see like a YouTube thumbnail about something coming close to us, but I didn't watch it.
I did see a comment from DMI about wanting weekly solar production numbers instead of just the day, which
Yeah.
I think we've talked about, and you're
It's
looking
already
into
built
that.
out. Yeah, it's built out, but there's a couple things. The thing that tripped me up is I'm trying to build in a celebratory overlay so that whenever it hits 1 megawatt hour and then 2 megawatt hours, 3, 4, 5, it's just like, yeah, you did it or whatever, that type of thing. 'Cause I thought that'd just be kind of fun to interrupt everything. That would be I don't know. So because of that, I was having issues getting that particular part to work, and so I haven't submitted the latest draft for review. So, but that other part is built in, so we just need to get it approved.
Okay.
Yeah, squirrel.
Just trying to jump through some of these other ones because I see that we're already over time. Someone was mentioning saving the chat because there's a lot of valuable information. So what ends up happening with the live chat after the stream ends is YouTube takes, it's almost like 12 hours to process and link up the chat with the playback video. So you might see the playback video right away as soon as the live stream ends, but the live chat's not there. But usually 12 to 14 hours after it's done processing everything, then the live chat does come back. I know
We
we've
do
had quite a few
archive.
comments on that. So
Yeah, and we do archive all of the live chats after the show. The system that we use allows me to download it into a markdown file. And so I have all those on my server, so we can kind of go back through them and kind of glean info out of them. But for everyone else, after about 24 hours, you should be able to see it. And there was a question here. Joe Schmidt said, basically, he thought, I don't know if it's thoughts on, or he thought there was on overtime, if enough super chats, like older shows. Like, I guess, what are our thoughts on an overtime? Yeah, I mean, we used to do that, guys.
I forgot about that.
Joe's right. Back when we were doing it on our old channels, if we would get 5 super chats in a night, then we would go into overtime and do another additional 30 minutes. Yeah, we should do something like that again.
Yeah, that's
we kind of hate
super
going like, hey
chats,
guys, pay us money, but if you want to do it and gamify it, we'll do it.
the super chat thing on this channel is new again to us because it just recently got turned on. But yeah, we used to do that. So that was fun. But we are almost 5 minutes past the hour. So Eric, what do you have? Well, we all know what you've got going on. We can look and see right behind you what you've got going on. But why don't you talk about what you might have coming up here, and then
cool.
Hand it
So
over when you're done.
I feel really bad about not getting any content out, and so then then I feel bad about not getting content out, so I don't get content out. So then I feel worse about not getting content out, so I don't get any more content out. It's a self-defeating loop, I guess. I don't know. Like I said, I do have I have 17 ish, right around the 16, 17 episodes of the porch build. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to start putting those out once a week every Tuesday, or if I'm going to try to go twice a week. The problem with twice a week is I will end up, coming up to the end of those 17 episodes before I have more content out to fill them back up. So I'm thinking I'm going to probably do it once a week. And then if I get to the end of the porch build and I'm just like 20 episodes ahead, I'll then go back and speed up the process. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But I'm hoping to start I'm hoping next week or so on the East Texas Homestead channel to start dropping those weekly episodes. So you can be looking forward to that. Also, this back here is that's something that's got to get done real quick. Nothing else because I need to stop paying the utilities. And I'm trying to shoot it in a very easy format so that it'll get edited quicker. So it's a lot less complicated build or shoot rather. So yeah, that's basically what I've got going on. Adam, thanks. What about you?
Well, I'm finishing editing a video on the Anker Solix E10. I wanted to test out the surge capability. So Anker claims that you should be able to get 10,000 watts for 90 minutes of runtime out of a 7.6 kilowatt inverter. And so I had to actually build a testing rig to be able to test that, to have a sustained 10,000 watts of output. And the test didn't turn out like I was expecting. So that video might be dropping this weekend if I can get it all finished up to. And then my dad actually went and bought a Tesla.
Okay.
So kind of shocked me way out of left field. So I might be heading this weekend to do some test driving in a new Model Y, I think is what he's got. Never been in anything other than that Cybertruck. So, I mean, obviously the car's got to look better than the truck, right? So, well, maybe I'll take my camera along and I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening.
Fun. Hey, did they ever do their full house system? I know they were building their house and
the house is complete.
Okay.
And he's still looking at what he wants to do. They haven't moved down there full time yet. Okay. So they're commuting back and forth. He's got 1 year till he retires. And then I think after that retirement, then he's going to be looking for something to do, which translates into hobbies, which translates into solar project.
There we go.
So
nice.
He keeps asking me questions about it. We did try and work with his electrician to pre-build some of the wiring into certain places. But I haven't seen any of it. I've only talked to the electrician. I haven't seen what he did. So it kind of worries me, but it's no different than installing a system on a house that you didn't plan for solar. So, yeah. So yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. We had a great group in the chat. It's always fun. Can't believe an hour goes by as fast as it does. And hopefully some of these little tips for anybody new to the DIY solar arena, looking to get your own solar system, hopefully just giving you some heads up about other expenses you might end up having that you could pad into your budget. Hopefully that'll help save you some grief in the long run. So with that, we're going to let y'all go. Y'all have a great night, great week, and we'll see you back here next week. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Thursday night for another DIY Unplugged Live. Take care, everybody.